ways to invest. You can predict or you can react. I've shown time and time again, I am, $2 and my prediction will get you a cup of coffee somewhere. But
not Starbucks.
Not at Starbucks. But if we have the cash and the patience and the fortitude, then we can take advantage of situations that are generating huge amounts of cash, even though some people believe down the road they won't. And in one case in point, of course, are healthcare companies, health insurers. Where
explain that a little bit, because you have Pfizer is huge.
We have Pfizer.
And you have HMOs.
And we have Pfizer. We have Forest Drugs, Forest Labs. We have Humana and WellPoint, the health insurers. These companies form the healthcare system of the United States, and they've done a good job. Could they do a better job? Of course, but their profits are reasonable. They don't make an egregious profit margin. They make single-digit profit. Right, even Pfizer today. And what happened was, the reason why I became very interested in them is not because of the unbelievable money that the companies are making. It was because of the fear that the new administration was going to destroy our drug companies, destroy our healthcare companies, which sent the prices of these securities over the cliff. And thus, when the price you paid versus the earnings that the companies were making were quite reasonable, and one could get a double-digit yield. It wasn't that long ago, a decade ago, where investors were paying 40 times earnings for our drug companies, and today they're in the high to mid-single digits with rock-solid balance sheets, and you really can't ask for much more. And my question is, well, if these companies aren't going to do it for us in healthcare, who is going to do it for us?
Well, clearly people have questions about the government. Do you still think that those companies are bargains today?
They're still very reasonably priced. They still have a double-digit free cash flow yield, which is unusual. So they were unbelievable bargains. They're a bit more expensive, but they're still far, far from the normal multiples for a market or for that sector, because the wild card is still out there with the administration as to whether or not this country is going to have a government-run healthcare system. I've lived in England long enough to know I don't think the American people are going to go for that. We may make the wrong decision for a little while, but eventually we'll get to the right conclusion.
Good. How about defense? You still bullish on defense?
Again, defense companies took a real hit on the basis that our defense budget will eventually come down hard with the new administration. But we take the tack again, very single-digit profit margins, very reasonable, and the Boeings, the Northrops of the world, they are our defense system. They are the defense community, and they are absolutely essential to the health and well-being and security of the country. And as long as we have all the global situations that are going on, and we have so many people who disagree with our way of life, then we're going to need them. And again, for what they're priced at versus the reasonable profits that they make, it's a good investment.
Still. Now, on the real estate side, do you still have St. Joe?
Yes, we're the largest owner of St. Joe in Florida. There was, again, another big misperception. First of all, everyone now believes real estate's going to zero, and everybody believes that the almost 600,000 acres of St. Joe land in the Panhandle is just mosquito-infested swamplands, and no one's really spent the time to look at the 140 miles of coastline along the Gulf and the bays and the intercoastal waterways and the sand. It's a beautiful, beautiful ecosystem. You've got the seasons there. In fact, that was, of course, the part of Florida that was supposed to first be developed before Fort Lauderdale and Boca,
right,
and by the DuPonts. And so, but it's the last big piece of Florida. And of course, there's a new international airport being built right in the middle of their land, which opens up next spring, summer. So that's what the area has missed. It's been, you had to take a plane, a train, and a car to get to some of these beautiful spots. Now you'll be able to fly in and be within 10, 15 miles of where you need to go.
Talking about drug companies, we mentioned Pfizer. You said they may, in effect, become a merchant bank. Can you explain?
Oh, well, Pfizer, largest company now with Wyeth, clearly the largest drug company, the largest distribution system in the world, AAA balance sheet, and it's very, to me, it's analogous with an ExxonMobil, who partners up with other large companies, and basically I view as the investment banker of the oil and gas industry. It also reminiscent, it's analogous with an Altria, Philip Morris, where Philip Morris has huge distribution channels which they put their brands in, generics in, and the pharmaceutical companies, they in the past they gave away the generic business to some very smart entrepreneurs who took advantage of it. They all just went for the big blockbusters, and they were in a situation where they were able to make a lot of mistakes and get away with it. And that's not the case anymore. And Pfizer has a good new CEO, and Jeff Kindler, and he gets it. And there's a huge amount of cost saves, billions of dollars of cost saves, and a way to better utilize the distribution and to partner up. He realizes.
So when President Obama says he wants to shorten the patent period, you just see that as an opportunity to get more shares?
Well, we'll see. I think that especially with the biologics now and the patent period, it'll be a nice way to stifle the creativity of one of our best industries. And if you look at, I think, the development of drugs in the world, most of them have been developed here.
That's true.
And I still see most people coming to the United States for their acute health care needs.
What new things have you been doing recently? Not to tip the hand, but you put an emphasis on management in a way that a lot of money managers don't seem to, which is one reason why you got out of Berkshire Hathaway. Now you said when we were off camera that you're back into Berkshire Hathaway.
Well, from our last filing, it does show that we have Berkshire Hathaway. We don't show exactly where it is, but yeah. Warren, you have to take Warren Buffett at his word. A few years ago, we said, we're big, and it's going to take a lot to move the needle, and we expect to do well, maybe a couple of points, 2-3 points better than the S&P 500, and really no one should be expected to do much better than that, especially with $250 billion of assets. But at the Fairholme Fund, we're $10 billion. We're a bit smaller than, so I think we had a chance to maybe do a bit better over time. But I always said that it made sense that they would do a couple of points better. But given the dislocations that we've just gone through, and given the sort of Rock of Gibraltar balance sheet of Berkshire Hathaway, and given the cash he had on hand, he's been able to put a tremendous amount of cash to work. So besides the fact that the Berkshire Hathaway stock price went down, and at the same time he's making some tremendous investments in various industries, whether it's General Electric, or Swiss Re, Goldman Sachs, and given also some of the other fixed income deals he's done, and some of the insurance on the indices he's done, he's really the Berkshire Hathaway is positioned to have a nice little spurt, at least a regression back to its mean from where it's come from. But after all, Berkshire's hardly done anything for about 10 years now, so it's had a nice rest break.
Banks, you stayed out of them when others thought they were bargains, but you did buy American Express and AmeriCredit. You're still holding them now?
Right. Well, yes. Loved banks and brokers, but it got to the point where it was very difficult. Even a few years ago, it was very difficult to understand what they owed, what they owned, and towards the end of this past year, it was difficult to know who owned them. So if you don't know, you might as well pass and move on. American Express is different. American Express, I think they've done a good job of getting rid of the bits and pieces that didn't make sense. They may have been a bit too aggressive with the small business, but it was clearly a problem with American Express now, a bad debt, and it's what I call the pig and the python. It's just a question of how bad is the debt and how long is it going to take for them to digest that bad debt before they get back to where they were. Now, granted, they're now a commercial bank. Granted, they're going to need